Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Amerikan Primitive, featuring the comics and artwork of the Pizz. I don't know if you're familiar with the Pizz. Amazing cartoonist, even though he didn't do that many comics. Came around in the 80s, did a few pieces in a few anthologies. And he was so good that pretty soon he started working for skateboard companies. I think he did some tattoo flash art. And then around that time, Robert Williams really got the ball rolling on that whole lowbrow, painting movement. And Pizz was in on the ground floor of that. So pretty much the rest of his career, he was just making fine art paintings that would be shown in galleries, making a lot more money probably. But, these comics are amazing, and it's sad that he didn't do more. But even more sad than that is that I was reading this last night for the first time in probably 20, 25 years, and just blown away, even more than I remembered being blown away when I first read it. Just so amazed with his style. And I got up to smoke a cigarette. I was looking at my phone. I realized I had no idea what the hell the Pizz has been up to. I mean, I knew he was making paintings somewhere, but I'm not going to see them. So I thought maybe he did some comics here and there, or at least the cover of a magazine. And I had no idea. I found out last night that he took his own life in 2015. And I guess he rented a hotel room. He spray painted the name Ozymandias on the wall, and then shot himself in the head. And I guess he rented the hotel room because he didn't want his wife to find his dead body. So he obviously had thought this through. He was thinking about it for a while. It wasn't a spur of the moment thing, but just so fucking weird. Like, such a talented guy, and just really sad. So, but then today I was looking at this amazing cover again, because this cover is just a tour de force of just amazing graphics and drawings. God, I could stare at this for 10 minutes. But I was looking at it for like over a minute before I realized, oh my God, the main figure here is blowing their brains out, or at least shooting themselves in the head. So I was just like, wow, that's kind of prophetic and weird. But yeah, sorry to bring everyone down, but I was just amazed to find that out. I had no idea. Never heard this story. But let's at least take pleasure in the fact that he left behind some amazing artwork, including this. I mean, like I said, look at this cover, guys. This is just drink it in. It's like a beautiful cocktail for your eyes. Look, even the lettering's amazing. These fossils and bones and the word primitive. Just great, amazing stuff. Nobody drew like him. We have an inside front cover introduction from Robert Williams. And I guess they both grew up at different times, but they both grew up working for Ed Big Daddy Roth. And Robert Williams obviously really admires his work. This title page here, really nice. We got this nice little border design. All these various and sundry bizarre shit. Really well drawn. So here's the first story, Tattoo from Hell. It's almost like we have a cover for it. Like, this whole first page is just a nice cover design. Takes place in 1911. We're in San Francisco. We see this guy named Stumbo. He's a longshoreman, big tattoo buff. One night, he's got a little money. He goes to visit this tattoo parlor he's never been to before. It's kind of like derelict inside. It's ancient. And inside, he sees this ancient Chinese man. He gives him some opium to smoke. It's not very good. Gets him all fucked up and then begins to work on a multicolored dragon design to go on his right arm. The tattoo gun looks like some horrible torture instrument. And Stumbo could swear that he was using real blood for ink. And then he blacks out. Just look how fun this cartoon is. Just so amazing. It gets crazier, though. He wakes up with a splitting headache, and he looks down on his arm, and he's surprised that the head of the dragon, which is on his hand, it's the old Chinaman's face. I love this Tex Avery slash Ratfink-like reaction to the tattoo. He's even farting. Poot. Very goofy. He goes back to his hotel. He's going to skip out on rent, so he's leaving by the fire escape. And as he's descending to the street, he looks in a window and sees a French maid. And he hears this laughter in his head. And without thinking, he slips in the window and strangles the maid. Look at this scene of violence here. How like all of a sudden the ink is just slashed across the panel. Like completely expressive. So then he goes to a bar. He's just trying to parse out what happened the past 24 hours. He's like, what the fuck? But he kills the barmaid. Once again, he hears that laughter. He can't control himself. So his hand starts to itch. And the tattooed dragon grows more and more red every time he kills someone. They have this like page of just the way he killed various people. They're all kind of apropos. The zookeeper lady fed to the big cats at the zoo. The pastor's wife whose brains were beaten out with her Bible. The music teacher decapitated in her harp. The fishwife gutted, hung in the icebox. This is just amazing. Look how all the panel borders here are at completely different, like, exercise and ink. You know, just crazy. They just keep changing. But they're, like, really abstract. Just all kinds of styles. We got shattered glass here as a border panel. God, this is amazing stuff. So Stumbo, the tattoo starts hurting more and more. And he goes to a fortune teller. And the fortune teller tells Stumbo the history of the old Chinese man. So this guy came to America to work on the railroads. He made a pact with the devil to become the greatest tattooist of all time. And then his contract expired. So the devil came up and said, it's time for you to give me your soul. This is really interesting too, how these panels swoop down in a clockwise fashion. So he needed a stand-in, a fall guy. The contract had an escape clause, a 50-to-1 ratio soul exchange. And so basically when he tattooed Stumbo, he basically kind of put the curse on him. Stumbo is basically going to take his place in hell when he reaches a certain amount of victims. He thanks the fortune teller and bashes her head with her crystal ball. Now things get out of hand. Look at this ink work. That's just sloppily delicious. So now his arm really starts burning. He runs into this factory and runs to the furnace and shoves his arm into the furnace. We see him here just burning his arm off. The factory workers run to his rescue and they yank him away from the furnace and his arm pops off. It gets caught in something. And it says bleeding, sizzling, Stumbo lay dying on the shop floor. He'd won. The old Chinese man couldn't escape his fate. The factory workers, of course, are just like all just in shock, looking at this maniacal nut job. Just a gory mess who's laughing maniacally. But what he doesn't notice while he's laughing is that the arm comes out of the furnace and the old Chinese man's face is still visible in the charred skin, and it grabs Stumbo and strangles him to death. And they're reunited for all eternity. Oi, look at that. His eye is just dripping out of his socket here. This is a weird one. Dr. Zork's 23rd try. And I don't really get it at all. We see this like mad scientist type. He's working on some kind of formula or something. He finally figures it out, injects it into this lab rat. And it says he steps back. The rat disappears. And he looks like he's giddy with triumph. And that's it. That's the comic. It almost seems like, wait, isn't there a second page? That's how it ends. The rat disappears. I don't really get it. It looks like this is, I wonder if this is a copyright date. I would guess this is earlier artwork too. This doesn't look nearly as crazy as this kind of stuff. This one makes the first story look like Little Lulu. This one is just so, it's just like ugliness, but brilliant ugliness. It's called Desert Dogs. And our narrator basically spent the whole night getting really fucked up. His head is pounding. He goes to get some coffee. And then his brother Mike shows up. He forgot that he promised Mike they were going to go shooting today. So they get in Mike's pickup truck and they drive out to their cabin. They're drinking tequila. They're drinking beer. They're getting totally wasted because that's the best way to fire off guns. And then they see a Jeep pull up to their cabin. There's a man and a woman in it. And Mike grabs a shotgun and runs down to see what the hell's going on. As he's getting closer, the woman who's still in the Jeep, she honks the horn to warn her husband inside. And then she takes off. She runs to the bush. And then, so Mike runs in, and all of a sudden there's this gunfire. So our narrator runs down as fast as he can. Meanwhile, that guy comes out of the cabin and gets in the Jeep and rides off. He's trailing blood, though, so he's wounded. He goes in the cabin, and Mike's head is blown off. So our narrator here chases down the girl. He takes her boots so she can't run. And gets in the pickup truck, brings her along, and follows the trail. Once again, these amazing panels just slashed onto the page. And man, I love this character design. He looks like some weird soldier ant, mutant or something. I think I've seen some other Pizz comics where he draws himself this way. This is almost like his, how he sees himself. This gnarly, fucked up dude. So he waits until dark, and then finally he finds that guy. He's duct taping his wounds up. Our narrator hits him on the head with a chunk of granite. Look at that grate. Once again, like really nasty Tex Avery. Tex Avery meets Basil Wolverton or something. He hogties the guy, pours bourbon all over him, and he lights him on fire. Then he assaults the wife, and the wife crawls to the charred, oozing body of her husband. Our narrator pushes the Jeep off of a cliff and drives back to his cabin. The whole time, all he can think about is, I wonder who I could sell Mike's truck to. The end. This is like all Pizz's stories. They're just so nasty. They're just like, there's no morality. It's just really nastiness, pure nastiness. So here we have stuff which I assume is either tattoo flash art, designs he did for t-shirts, and skateboard companies. This one looks very tattooy. The Bad Boy Club. Very slick style. No wonder this guy was getting commissions out the wazoo. I like this one. This kind of beatnik hot rod cartoon one. Look at this crazy cat here. Just like UPA animation, but beyond, like completely abstract. And I love this cool jazz player. He's leaning all the way back playing a saxophone. Totally reminds me of that Hunt Emerson character. I can't remember his name, but Hunt Emerson has this jazz bow character who plays the sax. Just wicked cool design. Nice center spread here, obviously for a skateboard company. And let me flip this again. And I don't know who he did this for, but it's pretty fucking fun. Obviously, you can see that he worked for Ed Big Daddy Roth. I never understood that. Like in the late 80s, early 90s, every kind of cool garage band, they always had to have this thing, that weird little holding the stick shift in that weird little kind of poncy way, which is obviously a Rat Fing thing, but it was such a thing in the early 90s. Like you'd see it on like every 10th album cover. It got a little tiresome. So next we have Goddamn Mad Dog. And we see this guy driving out of Mexico. He's heading for the States. He's only got 12 hours left. So a little flashback, 12 hours earlier, he was leaving Guadalajara, takes a shortcut through the graveyard, and then this demon dog came up to him, bit him in the arm with supernatural speed. He was rabid. So the guy shoots him, and now he's trying to make it back to El Paso. Man, look at this. His skull was aflame with hellish fever, and you can see it. I mean, that is so, like, expressive of what he's feeling. Look how the letters are getting all warped, too, because he's basically just hallucinating. He's puking on the side of the road. The car won't start up, so he starts wandering through the desert. He sees a snake, because he's out of ammo. So he's like, ah, shit, a snake. But the snake had eyes to see what he had become. And that's what he sees. So he stumbles into this old graveyard. And it says, so many ghosts, I feel at home just waiting at night for a stray set of high beams, coming to repeat the cycle and set me free forever. So he's become the new demon dog, haunting another graveyard, waiting for another victim. God, look at these crazy panels too. Just as he starts getting more and more fucked up, the art gets more and more fucked up. But then it gets like crystal clear here. Just pure black and white, because he's reborn, I guess. Looks like this is another one done for a skateboard company, since the guy's riding a skateboard. Pretty fun stuff. Oh man, this one's great. Voodoo Zombie. Just look at this fucking logo, by the way. This is amazing. So we see this guy lives in Detroit. He's a butcher. He decides he doesn't want to spend the winter in Detroit, so he goes down to New Orleans. He's got some kinfolk there. Hops a train, shows up in New Orleans, and goes to his uncle's cabin. They sit around drinking corn liquor, and his uncle talks about dark demons. Pretty soon, he starts seeing demons too. He gets hammered and passes out. So the next night, he goes poking around New Orleans. He finds a voodoo shop, Madame Snakelip. He bought himself a magic monkey skull. God, this is totally different kind of art here. It's just like, this actually really reminds me of Hunt Emerson. Just amazing, clean, great cartooning, but really amazing design work on all the characters. So he's wandering around, and he sees a woman jump off the bridge, or fall off the bridge. So he runs to help her. Even though his monkey skull is shouting a warning at him, basically saying, don't do it. So he ignores the monkey skull, rescues the woman, and she has a bracelet with an address on it. So he gets a cab and takes her to the address. It was a big old house by the graveyard. When he knocks on the door, old Methuselah woman opens the door laughing. The woman wakes up screaming and tries to run, but Methuselah grabs her by the hair and throws her in the closet. For some reason, obviously his mind is saying, run. But for some reason, his feet are asleep, and he Seems like he just doesn't care. He's just like, yeah. So she offers him some a drink. Look at this great design. Obviously, it's not a drink to be trusted. And the way he draws Methuselah, amazing. It says it's probably, the narrator says it's probably drugged, but I don't care, really. So things go dark, and the walls close in. Look at this. More of that Tex Avery business. Smoke coming out of his ears. Man, this page is just amazing to me. It's like, this should be a great poster. He says he becomes conscious in a dark room. He couldn't see nothing, didn't hear nothing, then light. And then suddenly, voices. Oh, just look at this craziness here. His eye stalks all tangled up. And this design work of these stars. So much fun. So basically the garbled voices he heard were talking about a dead body found on the road. They was talking about him. And he's in the morgue. He's dead. But he still knows what's going on around him. They throw him in a truck and take him to a graveyard. Put him in a mausoleum. So he doesn't like this because this guy's done time in jail. And he's like, this is worse than being in jail. Interesting how the bars of the jail cell almost look like panel borders. So basically he's in there for, in the dark, the quiet dark for God knows how long. And then he hears the old Methuselah woman come up to him. She injects something into him, and he feels this warmth all over his bones. He carries her home on his back. And now we come up to the present. He says, I work for old Methuselah now. I'm a zombie slave. I should have listened to that monkey skull. And we see all these other zombie slaves working on her plantation. What a great little story. And once again, just mind-bendingly good art. This one's very odd, the shipwreck. Kind of drawn in, it looks a little different, even though it's obviously the Pizz. But I see some other influence in there. Almost like Gilbert Shelton laid this out, and then the Pizz drew over it. But this is just about these pirates. Kind of a weird little one-pager. Bunch of hijinks on the high seas. Speaking of which, Skeleton Crew. I bet this was a t-shirt design. That would be my guess here. Which I wish I owned that t-shirt. That's a pretty fun design. You can definitely see a difference between his commercial art and his comics. His commercial art's so slick. This one's called The Poker Game. Once again, it's a one-page gag strip. And, but just this totally really fun, crazy, humorous, cartoony style. I even see some of the Dutch artists like Juice Swart in here. But, not as clean, obviously. But just lots of influences. I still see the Hunt Emerson in this, too. I see a lot of that in there. But, obviously, Pizz is his own man. Nobody draws like the Pizz. Yeah, that's another fucking nice drawn there. Graveyard Shift. Pretty cool. And then look at this, kind of like Gary Panter-esque back cover. Just all this detritus of pop culture and junk culture. And then he just goes nuts with some paints over it. It's like Jackson Pollocked it up. So there you go, guys. Very sad. Even if the guy didn't kill himself, this is sad that, this is pretty much the only comics work he did. I think there's a few things here and there, but this collects most of them. And just such one of the greats. Seriously. He's up there as far as one of my favorite cartoonists, even though he just has this handful of stuff he's done. But I hope you enjoyed looking at it, and light a votive candle for the Pizz, and pray for his soul. And Sorry, I can't keep that ruse up. I don't really mean that. I'm just being silly. So, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time here at the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.